Halo Campaign Evolved is a game that I have been looking forward to since it was announced in 2025. Halo changed the first-person shooter genre forever back when it was released in 2001 on the original Xbox. And 25 years later, Microsoft promised a faithful but modern remake, and the question is, can you modernize a classic without losing what made it special? Right off the bat, you get one of the most recognizable scores in gaming. It brought me right back to 2001 when I played the original Halo. The original composition by Marty O'Donnell will be etched in my brain forever. It got me pumped up to start the game to see how Microsoft evolved the campaign. If you've played the original Halo, don't really expect any major surprises. The campaign follows the same story almost beat for beat, with only a handful of new cutscenes and small dialogue additions that I could notice. That's disappointing if you hope for an expanded storytelling, but it also preserves what made the original memorable. Voice acting overall was great, especially Sergeant Johnson, considering he was recast in this remake.
You heard the lady. Move like you got a purpose.
And the original Cortana did return, and she's as great as ever.
A dozen Covenant superior battleships against a single Halcyon-class cruiser. With those odds, I'm content with 3. Make that 4 kills.
I also loved hearing all of the enemy dialogue, from grunts screaming in fear as they saw Master Chief, to elites talking trash and calling me a heretic. The story may be familiar, but what this remake immediately stands out is its presentation. The move to Unreal Engine 5 gives Halo a dramatic visual upgrade without changing its core identity. Outdoor environments are where the remake shines the most. Wide open valleys, rivers, and cliffs finally look as impressive as they felt in my imagination. The water is a huge highlight, being some of the best I have seen in gaming anywhere. Just trust me, go on the beach on the 4th level there, it's really amazing. Indoor levels don't show off as much of the technical improvements and sometimes are a bit too shiny, but overall, it's exactly how I remember Halo when I played it the first time. Of course, Halo has always been more than its visuals. If the gameplay didn't hold up, none of these graphical improvements would even matter. Even with the switch to Unreal Engine 5, I had concerns about the gameplay going into this, and I am glad to say what surprised me the most is how timeless the Halo's gameplay still feels. Every weapon had a clear role, and grenades remain incredibly satisfying to use. Still love sticking enemies, especially from range. You just throw a nice one and get them. It's great. Or bouncing those frags off the ground and getting a group of enemies with it. It's always just great to do in Halo games. It felt like I had never really left Halo at all. Like it was very all familiar to me. One issue I did have, and maybe this is a me problem, was the Warthog did feel a little bit different and harder to drive. It did seem like I was all over the place when I hit, especially just little tiny rocks and stuff. Again, it has been a long time since I played it. I was on a mouse and keyboard this time, so could just be a me problem, but it did feel a little different physics-wise. And then another critique I've always had of Halo is its overall difficulty settings. When you put the game on legendary difficulty, the enemies become bullet sponges, and the damage they deal is just extremely lethal. And skill seems to be less of a factor. And I'm saying this as someone that has completed multiple Halo games on legendary difficulty. In 2026, it seems like artificial difficulty and it feels dated. Even after 25 years, Halo still has some of the best gunplay and gameplay in the genre, despite all of that. All of the weapons from the original Halo are here, with the classics like the Magnum and Assault Rifle. Although they did lower the Assault Rifle clip to 36 from 60, which matches later games, which I guess is fine. Every weapon also now has aim down sight, not just the Magnum. There are also several additions of new weapons that were not in the original, like the sword, fuel rod cannon, SMG, just to name a few. The biggest design question I did have is whether a faithful remake should even introduce those weapons that never existed in the original. Purists may dislike these additions, but at first I was thinking the same thing, how I'd feel about weapons like the sword and SMG appearing, but after a few missions I found myself enjoying the fresh approach that they brought to the encounters in the game. As with new weapons, they also added modern mechanics from later sequels like sprinting, vehicle hijacking, real-time destructible environments, a drivable wraith tank, and manual power-up and an activation like the stealth camo and the overshield. This is technically a remake, so some of these quality of life improvements are good. I did like being able to jack the enemy vehicles, made it a lot easier to deal with, but it also changed how you encountered some of those battles that may have been tougher in the original Halo. Levels were pretty much the same as I remember. I have not played the original Halo in a while, so I'm not up to date on all the specific level designs. So if you've been playing that Halo a lot over the years, you may notice it more than I did, but it still felt very close to the same to me. The game is still around 8 to 10 hours long for the main story. The outdoor levels still hold up remarkably well, but the indoor missions did show their age. Long repetitive corridors, copy and paste rooms, they all become much more noticeable by today's standards. The levels are all very linear, and the game relies on checkpoints, and sometimes they are very generous and sometimes they're not. If you skip like one enemy in a pack, sometimes you might not get your checkpoint and you got to go back pretty far. And then if you're like me, I got a checkpoint that spawned me right in front of a sword guy, and he kept killing me as I respawned before I could even move. So I had to restart the level at that point, which was really kind of frustrating. You also run from room to room, and you do a lot of waiting on something to happen. You go in a room, they say, I gotta unlock the door, and you gotta kill a bunch of enemies, and then you run to another room and do that. It feels, again, very dated in design. Unfortunately, this is also where the remake shows it's aged the most, is in the level design. Once the credits roll, the question becomes whether there's enough to keep players coming back. Content-wise, the game offers 3 bonus missions. These are actually pretty good levels. There's some outdoor environments I found really enjoyable. There's still some indoor stuff, but they made it look a little different than the original Halo, so it was nice to see. They did add another couple of hours of gameplay. These are a prequel to Halo and have even more weapons like the battle rifle and the needler carbine, which kind of bugged me, because if you're going to add them here in the prequel, why couldn't I have some of that in the regular game if you're already going to change it up anyway? I mean, I would have liked that. There are 39 skulls to find, terminals, a remix mode, which can change up the campaign with enemy placement, I think weapons and things like that. This can all be played in 4-player online co-op, which is a huge deal. There's no split screen, but the online co-op is there. And that leads me to the biggest thing missing, which is the online competitive multiplayer. For me, missing multiplayer is the remake's biggest missed opportunity. Halo wasn't just remembered because of its campaign, it became a cultural phenomenon because of its split screen and LAN multiplayer. Without that component, the package feels incomplete, even if the campaign itself is pretty good. I remember everyone bringing over TVs and Xboxes just to play Halo's multiplayer every weekend back in 2001. This was a huge miss for Microsoft, and the biggest reason I can't fully recommend the game at full price. At $50, you're paying for roughly an 8 to 10 hour campaign with a few bonus missions and collectibles. Without multiplayer or any meaningful progression system, it's difficult to justify the price compared to the Master Chief Collection, which offers significantly more content. Skulls and Remix might be fun for a few hours or tries, but is that enough to really keep people playing much after the credits roll? I just don't think so. So who is the game for then? The idea was to get new players into Halo by showing them the original campaign and old school fans a new coat of paint to revisit. Without the multiplayer though, I do think the new fans will have a harder time with the dated feel of the campaign compared to more modern titles that are out today. Ultimately, Halo Campaign Evolved succeeds at preserving what made the original campaign special, with modernizing its presentation and gameplay. It just doesn't do enough beyond that to justify its asking price. Based on all of that, I would wait for a sale or play on Game Pass. I do think it is a good way to experience the Halo campaign, especially for PS5 owners that may have never played Halo in their life. But if you have access to the Master Chief Collection, you will have a more full package and get online multiplayer also. Halo Campaign Evolved succeeds where it matters most. It does feel like Halo. Unfortunately, it also reminds you of just how much multiplayer helped turn Halo into the phenomenon it is. If you're a longtime fan, it's a nostalgic trip worth taking, especially through Game Pass. If you're completely new to the series though, you just know that you're playing a game designed in 2001, even if it looks like it's in 2026.